everybody, welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be reviewing Love After Lockup Season 4, Episode 5. So go ahead, grab your drink and whatever else it is that you do, and let's get into this review. Okay, so first up we have Taylor and Chance, and I just want to get them out of the way because Chance gets on my nerves. He's very cringy, so I just want to get right through them. So Taylor asked Bobby to watch the girls so her and Chance can spend some alone time together. Bobby agrees, and Chance and Taylor leave. So they're driving around town to find a place to mess around, and they settle for the cemetery. And this entire scene, like I said, it's cringy, and I don't even really want to talk about it. I guess they have sex in the cemetery. So when they're done doing that, they go back home, and when they get there, the kids are jumping around in the living room and on the furniture, and they're not listening to Taylor at all when she's telling them to chill out, to stop, to sit down somewhere. They're not listening to her. So Chance takes this as his opportunity to instigate an issue, and so while Taylor has the kids sitting down and calm for a little bit, Chance asked the kids how many times Bobby came out of her room. And he's talking just so much mess about her and saying, what's the point of asking her to be here if she's not even going to watch the kids? And is that something that she always does? And she's not allowed to watch the kids anymore. And, Bobby can hear this the entire time. And so she gets mad and she ends up leaving. And so, I forgot to mention this. So while Chance and Taylor are having this conversation about Bobby watching the kids, one of the little girls says that Chance can't tell them what to do because it's their mom's house, not his. Chance is triggered by this. And like I said on the previous one, if he's getting triggered by children, she's got 3 of them. So he has to figure that out. He can't let what a 5-year-old says get to him. So, whenever the little girl says that, he gets up and he leaves the living room, and Taylor follows after him. And again, I feel like you're raising little girls. Set an example. Be the example. Because the way that he's acting and he's so comfortable, basically just getting upset in front of them, like showing that side of himself. And it's too much, especially for someone that they don't even know. So that's all I have to say about them. That's it. All right. So next we have Chaz and Branwen. So in this episode, we meet the newest member of the show, and that is Chaz. And he's dating a woman named Branwen who is behind bars. Chaz plays in an 80s heavy metal band, and he does tech support as his main job. And I would have never thought that he was in an 80s metal band by looking at him. He is very clean cut. Little guy, he's like 5'5". No tattoos from what I can see. Not saying that all, rock members have to have tattoos, but, that's what you would expect. But yeah, so that's what he likes to do in his free time. So we find out that he met Branwen through a dating site, and she's an attractive woman, and he says that he's afraid that when she gets out, she won't be attracted to him. And I'll be honest, his little intro to himself is a little boring. The only juicy info that he shared is that he gives her an allowance every week or every 2 weeks, and I'm confused because what does she need an allowance for? Then again, what do I know? So while he's at band practice, he gets a phone call from Branwen, and they have a little conversation. And this is when we find out that she went to jail for multiple counts of identity theft. And yeah, that's not even too bad, I guess. I guess it is for the people that she affected, but it's nothing like, violent. So yeah. And they continue talking, and it's all very cringy. The conversation is very cringy. Chaz is very needy, and you can tell, like, he's very lovey-dovey, but, like, in a high school way. And I don't know why. I don't know why. Maybe that's not my love language, but I would get so annoyed. But anyways, the next scene is Chaz going to visit his sister Christina, and his sister is going to be meeting Branwen via video, and Christina's just skeptical about it because Chaz is quick to jump into relationships, and he's been taken advantage for in the past because I guess he makes good money. I guess I don't really buy it, but I guess. So Chaz tells his sister that they're going to get married, him and Branwen, and he's going to do that to make the transition quicker and easier for them. And yeah, his sister doesn't think that's a good idea. Um, she thinks that, he needs to get to know her first, but he doesn't. She might be using him, basically. So he needs to kind of feel her out and see if she's really there for him or for what he can offer her. So while they're talking, we find out that Chaz has been married 4 times, and they all had their ups and downs. His most recent ex-wife passed due to an overdose. She was a victim of the opioid crisis that's currently going on in America, and yeah. So his phone vibrates, and of course, it's Branwen. And Branwen wants to meet his sister. So Chaz gives the phone to his sister, and she wants to ask some questions. So, she wants to know is is Branwen wanting to be with Chaz for all the right reasons? Like, before they do it, make sure that she wants to marry him for love and all of that. And Branwen says that she cares about Chaz, and they have a special connection. They laugh together and things like that. So um, I'm with his sister. I'm not really buying it. So she gives the phone back to Chaz, and he's doing his whole cringy high school lover thing. So yeah, that's what we know about him so far, and that was it for them. All right, so next up we have Lacey and Antoine. So Lacey is heading to a hotel that's close to the halfway house, and while she's on her way there, she makes sure to take a dig at his mom and her drinking. Um, it seems like Lacey's kind of jealous of his mom, and she doesn't want her to be a part of anything that he has going on. And like I said before, I feel like Lacey was a part of like that crowd before, so I don't know why she's making it a point to say something about his mom. And how does she think that he's gonna feel? Like, come on now. But anyways, while she's on her way to the hotel, she gets a call from her sister, and we learn that her sister has done 8 years in prison. She was really into heroin, but she's been on the straight and narrow for about 10 years. So Lacey's asking her what it feels like to get out and what's the hardest part about getting out. And her sister lets her know that, the day before release, can't really sleep or anything, a lot of anxiousness. And then the hardest part about getting released is not having a job, money, having to depend on other people. And it's just not easy once you get out of jail. People just view you differently, even though you paid your debt to society. So they have to end the call because her sister has to get back to work. So the next scene we have is where she's checking into the hotel room, and she gets a good night's rest before she goes to pick him up. And so the next morning she gets up and goes picks him up, and she has to park up the street because we're in a pandemic. So she does that. I don't know how long she waited. It was kind of boring. And so Antoine pulls up and they hug and kiss and all that jazz. And we find a little bit more about Antoine's charges. And he was in jail because he ran from the police in a car, and then his car ran out of gas. So he got out the car and ran on foot. So that's how he got locked up. And so while he was locked up, he had to be in there for a hot little minute because he was doing the absolute most. He was drinking, he was partying, he was getting lit in jail. So he was actually in confinement for about 2 years, he said. And so he has a little bit of social anxiety. And so while they're driving and talking, Lacey reaches over to grab his hand. I guess she's trying to be romantic. And he puts her on blast and is like, "Your hands are sweaty, fool." And you could tell she's a little bit embarrassed. And then she kisses him and he wipes that off too and says it was too wet. And this is the beginning of just her being nitpicky and extra, because even that got under her skin. He could have been playing. But that's all with them. I'm guessing next week we're going to see a little bit more with him assimilating to being on the outside. So, yep, that's it for them. Next, we have Kevin and Tiffany, and it picks up where last week left off with Curtis knocked out. He is laid out in the parking lot, and Kevin is in his car, and he has the nerve to say that Curtis ain't knocked out, he's just playing. And after he says that, he just dips out. And I don't know why. I thought that was funny. Like, who does that? Who does that? Kevin does that. So the production crew is getting Curtis up off the ground. And once they get him up, he's sitting on the curb and he's out of it. And he gets up and he goes into his car and he tries to drive. And production takes the keys out of the ignition. And while he's talking to them, he's asking them what happened. He doesn't remember getting hit. And like when the producers are telling him, they tell him, yeah, you got hit. It was like 2 hits. And I know what she wanted to say. She would say it was 2 hits. You get hit, you hitting the ground. But she had to keep it professional. So Tiffany is overwhelmed with everything that's going on. And she's saying that, I've only been out for a few minutes and all this is already popping off. And she asked to go see Curtis's head. And when he lifts up his hat, she sees this huge knot on his head. And so she looks at it and she kind of just leaves him by himself, and she goes sits by herself. And Curtis is in the car and he's trying to give himself some reassurance that Tiffany is going to be leaving with him. She asked him to go pick her up. So why would she not leave with him? Poor thing. So Curtis gets cleared to drive and he goes and tries to pick her up. Because she goes and she sits like around the corner or somewhere down the block, or who knows really where production had her at. And she basically tells him that she's not going with him because she needs to get it together. She needs to focus on herself. And basically what happened on her release date was too much. So she gives him a hug and they start to unload everything from his truck and they put it on the curb next to her. And he's sitting in the car. And he doesn't move for a hot little second. He's just sitting there and he's crying. And like, we TV, the cameramen, producers, editors, whoever, they are shady because Curtis is sitting there crying. And then you have Tiffany in the background just sitting there. And it's just like this awkward moment like, bro, she can hear and see you. And she probably doesn't find this attractive. You're crying just right after you got beat up. So yeah, you might want to go like when people say they're going to cry in the car, they mean like not in front of the, never mind, Curtis. So, after Curtis pulls off, Tiffany calls Kevin and she says that she wants him to pick her up. And he's kind of, feeling hurt by what she did. And she says that, seeing him fight for her, it made her have a change of heart. And I don't know. I don't really, I don't believe her. Like, I'm wondering, is she going back because she's paroled to his house or something? But yeah, anyways, he turns around and he goes back to get her, and that's where they leave off. So that's it. Next up, we have Kayla and Martell. So it's the next morning after their big argument over crumbs, and Kayla's trying to call Martell, but he's not answering, and she has no idea where he went or who he's been with. So she gets up and she's cleaning the kitchen because she doesn't want to have any problems. And while she's cleaning, Martell comes back with a dining room table, and he's trying to smooth things over. But he's not able to do that because Kayla is still mad. But unfortunately, he's not mad anymore, and that frustrates her even more. So she starts going off again, and she's just yelling at him and going off about the crumbs still. And he's asking her to calm down and to lower her voice. And she doesn't do any of that. So there's kind of like a lull in the conversation. And he says that he's hungry. And she asks him, what you want to eat? And he says he wants some shrimp Alfredo from the strip club. And she gets irritated and walks away. And I think he was just messing with her, trying to lighten the mood, but it wasn't the time. But that was kind of funny. So the next time we see them is Kayla walking into the house, and Martell's at the table eating. And he asks her if she's ready to talk about what happened earlier. And so she sits with him and says, yeah, I'm ready to talk about this. And he says that he's sorry if he embarrassed her, and he's man enough to say that. But if she wants to be apologized for her feeling disrespected, he won't do it because he didn't disrespect her. So basically, it's her fault that she feels disrespected because that's not how he meant it. But that's how she took it. I kind of get that logic, but then again, I don't. I think I wouldn't get that logic if I was in the situation, but I'm not. So it don't even matter what I think. So when he tells her that, she gets mad that he's not going to apologize, and she feels disrespected again. So she's getting loud and just yelling at him and going off about what he said. And he tells her not to disrespect him because her yelling at him is disrespectful. And it just goes back and forth, and it's really petty. And so finally, in a calm voice, she says that they need to relax and try to have a discussion when they're in a more peaceful mood. And Martell agrees, and he thinks that they should have the discussion at a later date. So he goes outside, and he tells the camera that he'll give her space, but he's not apologizing for anything because he did nothing wrong. She feels disrespected, but he didn't intend to disrespect her. That's his story. He's sticking to it. And that's that. That's it. That's a wrap. Okay, so last and certainly not least, we have Indy and Harry. They're basically the stars of this season at this point. I'll keep it real. I really watched the show to see what kind of shenanigans Harry is about to pull. But anyway, so like last episode ended, they were on their way to see a psychic. And I really want to know why Indy brought her daughter to the psychic. It should have just been her and Harry, in my opinion. The little girl couldn't sit still. And I don't know, maybe it's just me, but if I was a psychic, I'd be like, this is too much energy in the room. I just need the two people that are supposed to be here. That's just me. I don't think a kid would just want to be sitting up in there. But anyway, so the psychic starts telling them how she senses anger, and she says that it's coming from Harry. And Harry feels like the only reason why she's saying that is because Indy is giving her cues, meaning whenever she's mentioning being angry or anything aggressive, Indy is looking towards Harry, which is giving the psychic the cue. So Indy then asks the psychic about what their future might hold, and the psychic says that they can have a good future, they can get married and have babies and all that jazz, but they have to have effort. And so in Harry's confessional, he says how Indy wants everything so soon, and it's probably because she's a little bit older. But he does love her, but he's not ready for all that. He wants to take things slow. He just got released. He's overwhelmed. He's got a lot on his plate. And here we have Indy that's wanting to get married and have babies, and he don't even got a job yet. Girl, you don't even have a job yet. You're not contributing anything to Lydia's household right now. How did you even... Hold up. So you went to go see a psychic, and that probably cost money. I hope that you're giving Lydia a little something. You better be breaking her off a little piece, because for you to have money to go to the psychic and stuff, well, the show probably paid for it. Never mind. Let me not get worked up. So, anyways, Harry also says that um, Indy might not be ready for the relationship either because their relationship has only been JPay and calls, so he can't even marry her. They don't know each other. And I agree with him. There's no way that they can marry each other because they don't know each other, and also, Harry just be doing whatever he want to do. So they're leaving the psychic, and Harry gets a call, and he tells Indy that it's from his PO, but it's actually from a woman. And so the next scene we have is Harry and Indy outside, and they're looking at her car, and Indy asks, are they going to go hang out with Ava? And Ava is his daughter. And Harry lets her know that he needs to talk to Fatima, which is her mother, and that's he's got to get through that first. Um, so it's not a good idea for him to bring Indy along. And honestly, I feel like Indy, that should have been part of your first priorities for him too. The first thing that you should have been pressing him to do was to see his child, not going to hang out with his friend's house, not smoking and drinking. The very next day that he was out, he should have been knocking on the door or calling Fatima something. But maybe he did, and this was just the only day they could link up. But I doubt it. I doubt it. I doubt that baby would want to wait 5 days to see her dad. And so anyways, Indy drops him at Fatima's house, and instead of rolling away and going to do her own thing, she's sitting outside. Again, what are you doing? She's got her daughter playing outside in the leaves of this woman's house, and they can't even go inside. The least that she could have done, she could have Googled if there was a nearby park so she could get some one-on-one time with her daughter in this foreign city. That's what she should have done. Or they could have went and FaceTimed grandma in the car or something. But to just be sitting outside, it couldn't be me, and I don't care how big the check is. I'm not going to be on... I guess it just depends on the size of the check. But I doubt WeTV is giving a big enough check for you to be the laughing stock of America. I just doubt that. So Harry gets inside the house and he gets to see his little girl, and actually a really beautiful scene to see them together. You could tell that he has a lot of love for his daughter, and his daughter loves her dad. So it was really, really nice to see. So after, Harry plays with his daughter and then does a little bit of her homework, he sits down with her mother, Fatima, and Fatima gets down to business. Like, how did you get here? Where did you parole to? How are you going to be present in Ava's life? And you got all this extra stuff going on. And so Harry basically tells her that he's going to put forth the effort to make sure that Ava is a priority. And even though Indy has kids, Ava is his priority. And he also says that he knows that it's just words right now, so he plans to put forth some effort to actually show her. He's gonna use his actions to show her, not just words. So he then asks, can he get Ava for a night or two? And Fatima shuts that all the way down. And I'm glad, because she says she can't just have her child around anybody. And I agree with that. And what I wanted her to do in that moment was go out her front door, tell Indy, pack it up. You have your child around a man that you don't even know. I've been with him. I know he's not good. He don't mean you no good. You're convenient right now. But he does what he wants to do. And Harry said in the car too, if he don't want to do it, he's not just settling. So Indy, again, I hope you are watching this back. I hope you are seeing everything that we see. And I hope that you're done for real. I really do. And that's where the whole episode ends. Well, that's not where it ends, but that's where this review ends. So, I hope to be caught up with this whole season here soon. So, yeah. Bye.